Hello everyone, my name is Serafi and I'm happy to meet you all. And today I'm going to be doing a tier list for Legends of Runeterra Path of Champions. This game's really fun, I play it literally every day, and I really enjoy all of the strategies and intricacies that come with playing the different characters. So far, the characters that have been released total 71. Quite a lot. So this is going to take me a minute, but I'm going to rank these characters in terms of their value to you as a player, based solely on the first 3 stars in the character's constellation. So this is a free-to-play list. We're not going to be considering epic relics, which require you to pay for, and we're not considering any 4 or higher stars, which require access to certain materials that you can get for free, but that take much longer. We'll have a separate tier list for the more higher end players, but for right now this is like a brand new to Legends of Runeterra tier list. Let's explain the categories. The S category is for a tier above everyone else. That is, there are a certain number of characters, not too many of them, that kind of break the rules of Path of Champions, and those characters aren't really, like, it's not even fair to compare them to the other characters. They're like all in their own special category of broken. Then A-list is, the character is strong enough that they can fight against some or all nightmare areas with just 3 stars and no paid relics. So that's like, the nightmare areas are the 4.5, 5.5, and 6.5 star areas in Runeterra. Then you have the B tier, which is, can clear the 3, like the up to Aurelion Sol, which is the 4.5 star area in, like, basically it was the end game before they added nightmares. You can clear up to Aurelion Sol really easily. C tier is, you will struggle with the character. Even if you have their 3 stars, even if you have their best rare relics, the character just is missing something that was added in another constellation, or they're just waiting for a rework. And then D tier is absolutely, you will struggle even with like a 3-star area. Very few characters in the D and S category. Let's get started. First up, we have one of the newest additions to the game, Akshan. Akshan's quick rundown here for people who have not played Legends of Runeterra. When I say there are 3 stars, the first star is basically just to make sure that you can quickly get the character and feel like you're playing that champion. But the first star is very minimal. It's not really that big of a deal. And so it gets upgraded into another star at star 3. So there's actually only 2 different powers we're going to be talking about. The 3rd star and the 2nd star. So Akshan is, his stars are summon a Warlord's Palace at the start of the round, which is like, at the start of the game, which is like a landmark that gives you some spells if you complete it that will either give you a couple of 5/2s, 2 draws, or +2/+0 to all of your units. And then his second ability is, when you count down a landmark, give all of your units +1/+0, which is fine-ish. It's not a super impactful ability. Alright, so for Akshan, he's a 2/2. He doesn't generate anything. I feel like he's cheap enough that I feel like you could clear some areas with him, but I don't think it would be easy. So I'm going to put him in a C tier. Akshan's really a character that relies on his 4-star to actually get started. Even his 4-star isn't that great, but he's really good with some relics. Next up, we have Ambessa. Ambessa is absolutely A tier. Ambessa's abilities are, whenever one of your units attacks, give it and all units that share a name with it +1/+1 forever. And also, at the start of the round, create a conscription in your hand which copies a follower, and it costs 1 less each turn that you have it. So she's good in the early game because any unit that you play is going to instantly get +1/+1 to both itself and any other copies. And she's good in the late game because you get like a flood of boards. Her unit itself is really good. She's a 5/3. Her deck is very strong. She has a 2/2 that just gets to freely attack and stun a unit, triggering your 3-star. So there's not a part of Ambessa. Like, once you have Ambessa's 3rd star, you always feel like you're ridiculously powerful. And you don't need any relics to make Ambessa good. The relics just make her broken. Next up we have Gwen. Gwen is insane, but she really relies on her 4-star to actually, like, start. Do I think Gwen could beat Nightmares without her 4-star? Probably not. Gwen's like a solid B tier, like top of B tier character. She her abilities are all your units that have hallowed start of the turn get a 2/1 challenger, or no, not even a 2/1 challenger. She gets challenger from somewhere else in the constellation. Just a 2/1 with hallowed, which is when I die, give every unit that attacks after me 1+1 attack, and then hallowed counts twice. So it's solid. It's like a decent card, but without her 6-star, she's actually really slow. And without her 4-star, which gives all of your units overwhelm, she's not super impactful. So yeah, I would sadly say that Gwen at 3 is probably B, but we'll talk about Gwen's power when we get to the 6-star tier list. Nasus. Nasus is rough. Before Nasus's rework, he felt really bad, and his rework did not change much of anything about his 1st to 3rd star. All it did was it fixed the problem with his Sundisk summoning, and also made it happen earlier. So yeah, I would say that Nasus is D tier. A 6-cost 2/2 is way too slow, and his power to give your opponent's units, or to give units that are vulnerable -3 attack is decent, but without his 4-star that gives a unit vulnerable every single round, it's not really changing much of anything. He does have a couple of cards that give opponents vulnerable, but that's not super impactful. So yeah, I feel like most of Nasus's power comes from his 6-star, and some of it comes from his 4-star. So he's not really on the radar at 3 stars. Next up, we have Viego. Viego is very similar to Gwen in that a lot of his power comes from the fact that he gets crush at 4 stars. Viego's 3-star is the first time that you slay an enemy and the first time that you slay an ally each round, summon an encroaching mist, which is a 1/1 that scales itself up every time you summon another copy of it. And then his 2-star is whenever one of your 4 attack units dies, reduce the cost of 4 attack units in your hand by 1. That's permanent. The cost reduction is really good. His deck itself is fairly weak. He has Possession, which is an awful card. I'd say B. I'd say Viego is one of the characters that absolutely needs his 4-star. He can clear areas, but he's not going to be able to. I feel like you could clear Aurelion Sol safely with Viego, and that's about where it would end. Next up, we have Darius. Darius is, like, really strong at 3 stars. His 3-star is, when you summon a unit, give it +4/+0 and Overwhelm the first time you play a unit each round. And his 2-star is, when you attack with at least 15 power, Rally. Get another attack token. So he's hyper-aggressive. And Darius just feels like do I think you could clear Nightmares with Darius? His deck is okay. He's got a 3-cost 4/3 with Challenger and Quick Attack. Challenger and Quick Attack, and then you get Overwhelm from the hero power. So that makes it an 8/3 with Challenger, Quick Attack, and Overwhelm. Yeah, that's good enough. Yeah. He can clear like at least a 4.5 area easily enough. Next up, we have Samira. Samira is insane. Samira is definitely an A tier character. Her ability is the first time that you damage the enemy Nexus each round, the next card you play costs 3 less. And then her tier 2 ability is after you've played 3 cards in a turn, give all of your units +1/+1. Both those effects are really good. She's clearly meant to combo a lot of cards. All of her cards are super cheap. And she makes excellent use of the plunder mechanic. I don't even have her... I think I just got her 4-star, but I don't have her 5 or 6-star, and she feels perfectly fine. Fiddlesticks. Fiddlesticks is S tier. 100%. Why can I... There we go. Fiddlesticks is S tier. So... Fiddlesticks' ability is Terrify. When you... At the start of the turn... No, not at the start of the turn. At the end of the turn, your opponent banishes the top card of their deck for each time they took damage this turn. So, Fiddlesticks is very weird. He is definitely like the nightmare of nightmare champions. A lot of his power for nightmares comes from his 4-star and his 6-star. But because he banishes cards from the deck rather than trying to kill people, his 3-star actually works really well against the low rank areas because the low rank characters have very, very small deck sizes. Like if you fight an enemy in one of the 3-star areas, they typically will only have 15 to 16 cards in their deck because that's how short the games are. So with Fiddlesticks, he actually gets to cheat and just deck people out stupidly fast, no matter what area he's in. I had absolutely no problems clearing any area with Fiddlesticks, except for Twisted Fate, for obvious reasons. So Fiddlesticks is like the safest investment you can make in this game, 100%. Get him 3-star, get him 6-star. He is the best. Next up we have Jhin. In terms of like only 3 stars, and you can only have rare relics, I feel like Jhin is like the only after Ambessa in terms of power. So Jin's ability is Jhin has 3 abilities, not 2, because Jhin has an origin. So first up is his origin, which is when you cast the 3rd fast spell, slow spell, or skill while Jhin is in your hand or on the field, he casts a Lotus Trap. Lotus Trap is a skill that deals 1 damage to the enemy Nexus, and then if Jhin is in play, it also stuns the weakest enemy. And then his 3-star is every 4 times that you cast a fast spell, a slow spell, or a skill, create a 0-cost Beauty and Death in hand. And Beauty and Death is, or Captivating Death. And Captivating Death is a 0-mana spell that either deals 3 damage to a unit or stuns it. His 2-star is whenever a unit casts a skill, give it +1/+1. And literally every unit in his deck has skills. So, Jhin is a combination of having a very useful 2-star ability, which is all of his units get +1/+1 whenever they use a skill. His cards have a lot of utility in that he doesn't have to separate spells and like beaters. His beaters have their own skills. So a lot of his cards have a dual flexibility of both good stats, so they can block and they can attack, and also the ability to impact the board with their skills. So it's a case of Jin's power is... Jin's like 3 and 2 stars are decent enough, and his deck is really, really good. There's not any bad cards in Jin's deck except for the 0-mana spell that consumes all your mana to deal 1 damage to an enemy. And at the very least, they gave that card Mana Potion, which heals your Nexus for the amount of mana you spend on it. So if you have to spend 7 mana and your whole turn to blow up a 7-cost unit, at least you heal your Nexus for 7. That gives it a use case. It's usually a bad card. It will probably sit in your hand almost all the time. But as far as an emergency button for a burn deck, that is like the best emergency button you could possibly have. So Jhin is top tier. Next up we have Kayle. Kayle is trash. Kayle's effect is when you summon a unit that has buffed stat, or no, when you buff a unit stats on the field, give a unit in your hand the same stats. And then she has her 2-star is create a start of round, create a blessing in your hand, which gives a unit +3/+3. If you already have it, reduces cost by 1. It costs 4 mana. So Kayle was absolutely balanced around her 4-star, which is when you summon a unit, give it +1/+1. That basically means that all of your units trigger her 3-star without you having to actually spend any mana or any cards. Without that 4-star, she does almost nothing. She is basically worthless. And Kayle herself is such a bad card. She's a 5-mana 1/5, so she can't carry the deck on her own. Her other cards are decent-ish, but not good enough. I think that like if you have Kayle at 3 stars, you will not beat Aurelion Sol, and that is rough. You'll notice a trend here of all the D characters are the champion is super expensive. All right, Lux, man, Lux's rework was insane. The 6-star Lux is crazy, but as far as 3 stars go, Lux is B tier. Lux's abilities are the first time that you play a spell each round, refill mana equal to its cost, and if you spend 6 mana on a spell, after you spent 6 mana on a spell, create a 0-cost Righteous Rally in hand, which gives one of your units barrier, and then also gives you the attack token, even if it's your opponent's turn. But it's a slow spell. It's a very interesting deck and a very interesting type. It feels very basic. A lot of her cards are just stats like 3/3s and 4/4s, and then she has a couple of spells that use a decent amount of mana, and then you can basically try and get Lux on the board and then try and level her up. Primarily, the only reason the deck actually functions is because her 3-cost card that summons a 3/3 has the mana crystal on it, so you spend 3 mana to instantly refill 3 mana, get a 3/3, and then set you up to have 5 mana on the next turn so that you can play Lux. But that only works because you have mana flow, because you start the game with 3 mana. Since you don't start the game with 3 mana with the 3-star, then she can't even do that, which really slows her down. Actually, I'm gonna put her at C, because a lot of Lux's power, a lot of all the spellcasters' power is Chemtech Duplicator, which is if you have 6 mana, you can double the activation of any spell. And that's really good on Lux, absolutely. But the fact that you can't, if you don't have mana flow, you can't start with the card that refills your mana. Actually, that really slows down her ability to access Chemtech, and that probably puts her at C tier. Nautilus. Nautilus is weird. How do I talk about Nautilus? Nautilus starts the game with 27 cards in his deck instead of 18, and because his mechanic is deep, which is you have less than 15 cards in your deck. His 3-star is at the start of the game, toss until you only have 35 cards in your deck, and then for each card, or no, that's his 2-star. His 3-star is units you have that have deep get +1/+1 extra for every 5 cards that you've tossed. So his deck itself is pretty decent. It's definitely not bad. But the question is, how good is it? I feel like Nautilus really relies on Stack to Deck, which is a relic, an epic relic that gives you +1/+1 to all your units for each card that's started in your deck. So you can stack your deck with as many cards as possible, and then you tear them all up at the start of the game. And then not only do you get a bunch of buffs for summoning units just because you had a bunch of cards in your deck, but you also, when you finally get deep, you've tossed 20 cards, and so you end up with a huge stat buff, +7/+7 on all your guys. If you don't have Stack Deck, and Stack Deck also gives you 200 gold to fill your deck up with cards. if you don't have stacked deck, I feel like Nautilus doesn't do a whole lot. His deck is really good, but it relies a lot on his Star of Discovery and on his ability to... he has a star in his constellation that gives his champion spell the ability to summon a 4-drop, which makes him way more consistent. I'm going to say that Not would probably struggle against some areas as a 3-star. He's not bad like Nasus and Kayle are. Nautilus himself is a terrible character, and he's really expensive. But unlike Nasus and Kayle, Nautilus himself doesn't really need to be on the board to win the game, because he has a bunch of 4/4s and 5/5s that can actually like fight. So yeah, I feel like this is probably safe. He's probably like mid-C tier. Pyke. Pyke is rough. Pyke is stupidly good at 6 stars. But the problem is that he needs his 6-star to do anything, basically. Pyke is all about lurk, and lurk is like something that cards either have or they don't. It's like a mechanic. So he's terrible for a draft system, because you go into a draft system and the cards that you draft don't have lurk. So they tried to fix this by making his 4-star and his 6-star give everything lurk. But if you don't have those, then you are basically punished for picking up any card. His abilities are lurk gives you +1/+1 extra, so whenever you lurk, which is you attack with a lurker, you have +2/+1 to all your units. And then his what is his 2-star? What is Pyke's 2-star? Hold on. What is Pyke's 2-star? Oh, he gets a shark every time. That's right. He gets a free shark if he's on the offensive. That's right. Okay. That's fine-ish. He's 5 mana, too. Yeah, I would say he's actually probably C tier. Like, he's aggro, so he's not going to be bad, but he's not good, and I feel like you wouldn't really be able to beat Lissandra with him. Yeah, you would struggle. You could do it, but you would struggle, I feel like. Swain. Swain's abilities are the first 3 spells or skills you cast each round deal bonus damage based on the amount of health your opponent has lost. And whenever a unit dies, deal 1 to the enemy nexus. Both those effects are really, really good. He does really rely on his 4-star, which is whenever you burn the enemy nexus, give the top unit in your deck +1/+1. That's a really, really good effect. But I still think he could beat Nightmares even without it. He's not S tier. He would be S tier if we were talking about his 6-star, but he's not S tier right now. So yeah, solid. Tryndamere. Tryndamere is, at the start of the round, create a Call to Arms in your deck. And Call to Arms is a 5-mana spell that says, shuffle 1 card in your hand into the deck in order to summon a unit from your deck and then rally. And his 3-star is, whenever you attack, give units in your deck +2/+2, I want to say. When allies attack, grant allies in your deck +1/+1. Okay. That is pretty decent. Could you beat Nightmares with just his 3-star? He's got some really good units that have a lot of synergy with his deck, but without his 4-star to slow people down, it's kind of debatable. He's definitely B tier. The question is if he's A tier. Without his stars, I would say he's probably B tier. He gets a lot of power from having a lot of extra health, which comes from his paid relic and from his the other stars in his constellation, the fact that he doesn't get those if he's only 3 stars kind of holds him back a little bit. So I would say you can absolutely crush Aurelion Sol with Tryndamere, but a 4.5 area where all the units are deadly, he might struggle. Twisted Fate. Twisted Fate is stupidly good, but not if you don't have his 4-star. So, C tier. Twisted Fate's abilities are whenever you draw a card, your allies, or no, cards you draw after the first cost 1 less, and the third time you play a card each round, get a Destiny card. A 1-cost wild card, which casts any Destiny card that you choose. And the Destiny cards are deal 1 to all enemies, deal 2 to the strongest enemy and stun it, or draw a card and refill 1 spell mana. Twisted Fate's deck is all about drawing cards, but it doesn't do anything at all except draw cards. And then the way that you win is with this 4-star, which is whenever you draw cards, give all allies +1/+0 until the end of the turn. So, without his 4-star, Twisted Fate can't do much of anything. Alright, Vex. Vex is weird. Vex's ability is all damaging spells and skills that you have deal damage in gloom instead of regular damage, which gloom is applies the damage to your opponent as a -1/-1 counter instead of damage. So like normally if you would cast a spell that dealt 6 damage to a 9/9, it would be a 9/3 afterwards. Vex, since she has this skill, would deal 6 damage to a 9/3, and it would end up being a 3/3. It's really interesting. And then her 3-star is round start, boost all units. So any unit that has stacks of gloom at the start of the round gets an extra stack of gloom. They get 1/1 weaker, and then if Vex is on the board and she levels up, and she probably will, then whenever a unit gets gloom, that gets twice as much gloom. So that would mean that all units that have gloom get -2/-2 at the start of the round. Now Vex is really decent primarily because she has some very, very good spells in her constellation. She has damaging spells that you discover in runs get +4 damage, which makes her insanely good to draft with. And then she also has probably the best 4-star in the game, which is what is her 4-star called? I don't remember. It's if a unit dies outside of combat, deal 4 damage to the enemy nexus. Jhin has it too. So she's like really, really hyper synergistic, but she needs a couple of the other constellations in her, the other stars in her kit, and she has the same problem that Heimerdinger and Teemo have, and Veigar, which is that they decided to stuff her deck full of Yordles since she is a Yordle character, and the Yordles suck. So, and Yuumi has this problem too. So I would say that she is B tier, into B tier. Like, I don't think she could beat Lysandra without her 4-star. Viktor. Viktor is a very interesting conundrum. Viktor is probably one of the best 6-stars in the game, but he needs his paid relic, and if he doesn't have his paid relic, he feels like absolute trash. His effect is his 2-star, I believe, is whenever you create an ally, give it augments, I think. Let me see. Viktor. Yeah, when you summon a created unit, it gets augment. And then his 3-star is allies with augment have +1/+1, and your augment's granted an additional 1 health. So augment is when you cast a card that didn't start in your deck, give all units with augment +1/+0. So now it's your created units have augments, and then all your units that have augments get +1/+1 base. And then when you cast a spell that did not start in your deck, give all units with augment +1/+1. So it's an AoE board buff that's permanent, but without your paid relic, you're not creating cards all that frequently. So Viktor, could Viktor still beat a Nightmare area without the perfect hex core? He would be really dependent on playing himself early. You could play Grand Generals on him and give him a copy of his champion spell every round. It only deals 1 damage, but then it creates more cards in the top of your deck. He doesn't have a whole lot of card draw to get through all that, though. I never had to play Viktor at 3 stars is the thing. Like, I got it maxed as fast as possible. I would say Viktor, he can't be C tier because his units all have +1/+1. That's like basically just gonna get you through everything. I'd say he'd be B tier. He's probably high B tier. All right. Next up, we have Warwick. Warwick is, gosh, how do you describe Warwick? He's one of the most aggressive characters, and his 6-star does basically his 6-star does basically nothing. So how do we rate this? Warwick's 3-star is allies have +1 attack for every 5 times that you have dealt damage to anything this game. And his 2-star is start of round, create a Blood Scent in your hand. Blood Scent is a 3-mana spell that deals 1 damage to 2 targets and then grants all damaged units vulnerable. Insanely good. Like and his deck is really, really aggressive. All of his units are super cheap. He has a 3-mana card that summons 2 0/1s. So if you've like procced his passive 3 times, then he's got like a 6/1 that summons 2 3/1s for 3 mana, which is absurd. So he can beat Nightmares and 3 stars, definitely. Like Ambessa and Warwick, that patch was probably one of the craziest patches we've ever had. All right, Ahri. This is controversial. I'm going to put Ahri in S tier, I hesitate to do that, but I think I'm right. So I said that the S tier is reserved for characters that break the game. Fiddlesticks breaks the game because he basically gets to ignore like an enemy's health and just go for their deck as their health total, and that makes it difficult to balance him because the way to make an encounter more challenging is to give it less cards, not more, so the deck is more consistent. So Fiddlesticks basically gets to prey on the fact that it's a card game and actually you want as few cards in your deck as possible to be as good as possible. Ahri is a little bit different. Ahri, the reason why Ahri kind of breaks the game is because she basically can just ignore everything. She basically gets to play solitaire. So how does Ahri work? Actually, Ahri's best build only uses 1 paid relic, and I don't even have that relic, and I still like completely destroy people. So Ahri is a 2-mana 2/2. She has quick attack, and her ability is when I strike, recall the units to the right of me, which is like the next unit that would attack. So it goes back to your hand. Then Ahri takes its place and attacks again. It's an interesting idea. And then Ahri's 2-star is after you've recalled a unit, it keeps all of its buffs and you reduce its cost by 1. And then her 3-star is when you summon and when you recall a unit, grant it Spirit. And Spirit is a stacking +1/+1. So how you play Ahri is you give her Gatebreaker, which is when I'm summoned, I strike the enemy nexus, but I have -1 attack. Then you also give her Lost Chapter, which is when I'm summoned, refill your spell mana, so you get 3 extra mana that you can only play on spells. And then Hymn of Valor, which is when I'm summoned, create a 3-cost Resounding Power in hand. And Resounding Power is fully heal an ally and then double its stats. So what you do is Ahri has a bunch of spells in her deck that allow her to recall units. Obviously, she's a recall champion. You play her, she strikes the enemy Nexus. You refill your spell mana, you create a spell in hand that doubles her stats. Cast it on her, she doubles her stats. Recall her. Now she keeps all her buffs. You summon her again, she gets 2 extra spirit, 1 from being recalled and 1 from being summoned, strikes the enemy Nexus, gives you another way to double her stats. You play it for free because you refilled your spell mana, recall her, keep doing it. You literally you don't have to go into battle, you don't have to block. You can literally just continuously summon Ahri and buff her and strike the enemy Nexus without ever interacting with your opponent. And if they try and damage Ahri, if they try and like pull her into battle, if they try and kill her with a kill spell, you just recall her. there's no interaction. It's literally just, I get to kill you and there's nothing you can do about it. And her 4-star and her 6-star only make this worse. So Ahri is insanely good. If you need an Ionian champion, 100% go for Ahri. Although Sett's really fun too. Okay, what are we at? 36 minutes, and we have done, I think, about 15 so far. Yeah, we definitely need to speed this up. All right, lightning round. Let's go through some of the obvious ones. First up, we have Aurelion Sol. Aurelion Sol definitely goes in the S tier. That was made for him. Aurelion Sol is unique in the fact that he's entirely free to play. He doesn't have a 6-star, and his 4-star can be purchased with champion fragments, so it doesn't have to require any Targon fragments. But Aurelion Sol requires you to go through the monthly challenges 4 times in order to max them out. So you have to be playing, because the monthly challenges only refill every month, you have to be playing at a high tier for 4 consecutive months. So it requires a lot of time investment, and it requires you a lot of waiting time as well. But if you manage to complete it, Aurelion Sol is insane. He one of the biggest things that makes a nightmare is the deadly enhancement, which is when you summon a unit, give it half its stats again. So if you're up against a deadly enemy in a nightmare area, they summon a 7/7, it becomes an 11/11 because it gets half its stats again. So just for free, by being in a deadly area, it has gained +4/+4. Aurelion Sol's 4th star, Breath of Life, says, when I summon a unit, double its stats. So you get the deadly effect, but more. If you summon a 7/7, you have a 14/14. And then in addition to that, it says, if that unit is Aurelion Sol, cast the Sky's Descend, which is deal 15 damage to all enemies. So you literally just blow up your opponent's entire board while summoning a 20/20, and then you level up and you kill everything. And then his 3-star and his 2-star are also insane. His 2-star is whenever you create a card, give it a random epic or rare item, which means that it does things like your spells cast twice, or they cost 2 less mana, or you refill the attack token when you use it. And then his units have like summon a copy of me, or summon a copy of me that's not ephemeral, or +5/+5, it depends. But he has like a lot of really powerful stats. And then his 3-star is, whenever you play a created card, reduce the cost of all champions in your deck by 2 mana. And then, when you summon a champion, immediately level them up. So you don't have to, like, you can fill your deck with champions, which are the best cards in the game. You don't have to use any synergy, you don't have to complete any stupid quests. You summon them, they immediately become their level 2 form, they double their stats, and they beat the living crap out of everything. So Aurelion Sol is like the most satisfying character to play. Absolutely, one of your primary goals when you start this game is to get Aurelion Sol and max him out. Whether you have him at 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, or 4-star, you will have a ton of fun playing Aurelion Sol, and there is, like, no one has any chance. You can go through every 6-star area and just crush everything. He's fantastic. Other lightning round. Gnar sucks. Gnar does nothing. His abilities are start of turn, create a Womp in hand, which is like stun a unit and deal 1 damage to it. And then, create a Pokestick in hand, which is 2 mana, hit an enemy for 1. And then his 3-star is, at the end of the round, if you have damaged the enemy Nexus, give all of your units impact twice, I think. And impact is if you strike while in battle, you deal 2 damage to the enemy Nexus. So, not good. Terrible card, terrible deck, doesn't do anything. So Not an interesting character at all. Other lightning round, Teemo. Teemo is C tier. He's really good if you have Oathbound, but Oathbound is a paid relic. If you don't have Oathbound, his stars are when you attack, shuffle 10 shrooms in your opponent's deck, and a shroom is, it attaches to a random card, and when they draw it, they take 1 damage. And then, if your opponent takes damage from a mushroom, create a 1-cost burst speed spell in your hand that dies at the end of the turn if you don't cast it, and it deals 1 damage to something and shuffles 3 shrooms into the opponent's deck. So it's like a very toxic shroom environment, but it's really slow and it doesn't do a whole lot. And Teemo is carried entirely by the fact that he's a 1-cost champion. He's really good because he's a 1-cost champion, but that's because of his synergy with some epic relics. Misfortune. Misfortune is Misfortune's really good B tier. Her ability is start of the round, create a Powder Monkey, which is a 2/1 that deals 1 damage to both Nexuses when it dies, and then when allies attack, deal 1 to all enemies in the enemy Nexus. When allies attack, draw a unit, which is fine. That's a really good effect, but she has a lot of useful effects that come out of her constellation, like giving her Powder Monkeys Challenger, and also giving them +2/+2. But with just drawing units and getting Powder Monkeys, which die immediately, she doesn't do too much. The unit herself, Misfortune's pretty strong, but that's about it. Ilux is insane. Yeah, Ilux is A tier. Ilux is Lux Illuminated is when an ally is supported or targeted, give it Spirit and Impact, which gives them +1/+1 and the ability to deal 1 extra damage when they strike. And then the 2-star is start of the round, create a Prismatic Barrier in hand or reduces cost by 1 if you already have it. Prismatic Barrier gives an ally barrier. And barrier is that they ignore the first amount of damage they would take, which obviously gives them Spirit and Impact when you play it. And Ilux herself is like a stupid card. She has she's a 3-mana 2/3 that has support, give me barrier, and give my supported ally Spirit. So she can't die as long as she attacks with someone else. And then if she levels up, she gives doubled Spirit to everything, which is crazy. So yeah, really good card. Sett. Sett is A tier. Sett's ability, bet on Sett, start of the round, create a coin in hand. Coin is a 1-mana spell that refills 1 mana and it stacks with itself, so you can get 6 coins that spend 1 mana to refill 5 mana. And then his 3-star is whenever you spend 6 mana in a round, give all of your units +2/+2, and whenever you spend 12 mana in a round, you trigger the 6th one, so you give all your units +2/+2, but then you also refill the attack token. And this can happen as many times as you want in a single round. And Sett's deck is really good. All of his cards are very synergistic with coins. Sett himself is really good with Chemtech Duplicator, which is a free relic. So yeah, he's fantastic. Leona. Leona is allies have Daybreak, or when another ally triggers Daybreak, give me +1/+1. And when you level up a champion, create a 0-cost trigger Daybreak and give all units +1/+1 in hand. She's too expensive. She's a 5-cost card. None of her units have Overwhelm. Basically, the idea for Leona is that you're going to get her on the board, level her up, and then stun everything, and then attack for that. That's way too weak. So yeah, I think she's a C tier. Ashe. Ashe is great. Start around, freeze, frostbite, and vulnerable the strongest enemy. And then when you kill a unit with 0 attack, give a unit the unit that killed it gets +1/+1. Very solid abilities overall. Just the ability to slow down your opponent constantly. It works really well on deadly enemies because it doesn't matter how much stats they have 0 attack. So I would say she's probably fine on Nightmares. Say she's an A tier. Jinx. Jinx is insane. Jinx's ability is called What Could Possibly Go Wrong. Whenever you discard a card or play a card, deal 1 damage to a random enemy and to the enemy nexus. So every time you play a card, you're actually like clearing the board. And you also burn the opponent. And she has a ton of synergy with everything. She also has a rare relic that you get from the story that is when you summon the champion, discard your entire hand, which levels Jinx up, and then create that many cards as powder, her 1-cost spell that deals 3 damage to an enemy. She's really, really good with like her full constellation. She gets buffed a lot from her constellation, but her 3-star is like where all of her power is, so she's perfectly fine. She can kill anything. Lee Sin is bad. Lee Sin is D tier. The second time that you cast a spell each round, give a unit +8/+8, but only until the end of the round, and then like you get some spells in your hand. Just not even worth it. Like Lee Sin is basically Master Yi, but Master Yi is actually good. Master Yi is 2 cost instead of 5 cost, and Master Yi gives like one of your units elusive every round. If you've cast 2 spells the last round, which is way more of an impact than giving them +8/+8. I would still say that without like epic relics, Master Yi is probably only B tier, but when you have an epic relic in the mix, Master Yi, like, because his spell costs only 1, you can loop it forever if you have Echoing Spirit, and he just becomes insane. Caitlyn is trash. C tier. Caitlyn, Caitlyn is why I think they started doing events, because Caitlyn, like, when Caitlyn came out, they were like, oh, if you win, if you manage to clear a 5-star area with Caitlyn, you could have a Diamond Vault. And everyone went to Lissandra, and Caitlyn just struggles so much against Lissandra, because all she does is shuffle traps into the opponent's deck, and the traps deal 3 damage. Like, that's her 3-star, is that the traps that she shuffles, which when they're drawn, they deal 1 damage to an enemy, not to the enemy nexus like Teemo does. They deal triple damage, so 1 trap deals 3 damage, which does nothing to deadly enemies. It does nothing to enemies that have tough. It's worthless. Like, she hurts so much. And then her 2-star is not relevant. What is her 2-star? When an ally is summoned, plant a flash bomb trap, or when an ally attacks. That's right. Okay, so you have bonus damage from your traps, and you also get traps for free, which sounds good, but it's not good. So, yeah, Caitlyn is absolutely reliant on her 4-star and her 6-star, and basically, and she needs like really good relics as well. So she's like just worthless. Garen is B tier. You would have no problems clearing Aurelion Sol with Garen, but go any farther and you're going to have a lot of trouble. Garen is very basic. Whenever an ally strikes, you give it +2/+2, so it gets 2 extra stats after it's struck, which is, fighting in combat. And then, start of the turn, create a 2-cost Justice in your hand, which is like both units, like you and another unit strike each other, which is like an easy way to like force your opponent to fight you in combat. It's pretty interesting. Like, it's 1 unit versus 1 unit, and then you get +2/+2 afterwards if you survive. But it's just so slow because it costs 2 mana. Like Garen definitely needs the it should cost 0 or it should cost 1 less for each turn that you have it. Treatments. He definitely needs to be updated in some way. Elise is insane. Elise is A tier, absolutely. I clear nightmares with Elise all the time, and she's like capped at 3 stars. So Elise's 3-star is whenever allies attack, grant your spiderlings +1/+0 and every keyword that champions on the field have. So what you do is you take Elise and you give her relics that give her keywords, and then you just don't care. You summon Elise, you trigger her effect, and you, in particular, what you want to give her is Gale Force, which is the champion that has Gale Force equipped has Scout, but then you have to shuffle them into the deck at the end of the turn. And Scout is, if only units with Scout attack, refill the attack token, and then you can attack with everything afterwards. So And then when Elise attacks, she summons a Spiderling attacking. So you attack with her, she summons a Spiderling, she gives that Spiderling Fearsome, and then Scout, and +1/+0, and then you just crush. And then her other key relics could be like two dream orb or whatever it's called, which gives you both spirit and impact. And since spirit and impact both stack with themselves, then you could, like, not only would you have 2 spirit and 2 impact for like a 4/3 with double impact, but then every time that Elise attacks, you just give the spiders that much extra stats as well. Then her other ability, her 2-star, is at the end of the round, if an ally died this round, just summon a Spiderling. So you get a ton of Spiderlings, and then also the Spiderlings are in her deck and they get Chain Vest. So her Spiderlings have taunt, not taunt, tough. They take 1 less damage from all sources, and then since they're in her deck, it's really, really easy to give like extra items to them throughout the adventure. So you just always look for the Spiderlings. You stack as much items on them as possible, and you just summon Elise and you beat people to death, and you can do it in like 2 turns. It's crazy. The big problem you have to worry about with Elise is if you give her Gale Force, you have to not summon her if your opponent's going first. Otherwise, she'll shuffle back into the deck. Okay, Tahm Kench. Tahm Kench is hilarious. Tahm Kench is when an ally survives damage, give them +2/+2, and then start of the round. I think you get like a. Don't you get like a to eat something at the start of the round? Hold on, let's see. For some reason, I am blanking on like all these champions 2-stars, and I don't know why. When you capture a unit, create a copy in hand, and it costs 1 less. Ah, that's right. That's not too impactful. I mean, it means that if you capture your own units, you can get extra copies of them. The main benefit of Tahm Kench is that his deck is really, really good. All of his units have the ability to damage themselves, which means they just get +2/+2 extra. And then, in particular, he has a 3-mana 2/5 elusive with I get an extra mana every round. So that's really, really strong. But it damages itself by 2 at the start of the round. So you just have to make sure that you constantly refill it with extra health. And then Tahm Kench has his own rare relic called Berserker Buckler. That means when he takes damage, give him +2/+2 as well. So like if you stack that, then you can have a ton of extra stats. He's really, really good. In particular, he's really good if you give him Warwick's paid relic, but we're not talking about paid relics. Nidalee. Nidalee is... Can Nidalee clear nightmares? Probably. Nidalee is start a round, create a clever camouflage in hand, which transforms one of your units into another unit that's, I think, like 1 mana higher. And then her other ability is when a unit transforms, create a copy of it, and then give it impact and +1/+1. So all of her cards transform, including Nidalee herself. So when you can, and in particular, what makes Nidalee really good is that she costs 4 mana, but you can play her as a 2-mana brush, and then she gets a 2-mana card in her hand that can reveal her true form. And if you give her Lost Chapter, which is when I'm summoned, refill your spell mana, you can then just cast the spell immediately. You reveal Nidalee, so you get Nidalee on the board for just basically half the mana, and she summons a copy of herself, which is, because she transformed, which has +1/+1 in impact. And it also sets her up to be closer to leveling up, because in order to level her up, you need to summon her transformer unit 4 times. So Nidalee is a very aggressive, very powerful unit with just 3 stars, and she's very effective. Diana. Diana is absolutely A tier. Diana's a 2-mana 2/2 with Nightfall, give me +2/+0 and Challenger until the end of the round, and her 3-star is insane. Her 3-star is allies have Nightfall, give me +2/+0, and then then Quick Attack, but if I already have Quick Attack, give me Double Attack instead. So specifically Diana, when you play her with Nightfall, which is, I've already played a card this round, she becomes a 4/2 with Double Attack for 2 mana. And her 2-star is, the first time you play a card each round, refill 1 mana. So basically, it just makes it easier to Nightfall. What you do with Diana is she's a 4/2, and then you give her Grand General's Counterflan and Archangel Staff, which is start a round, refill 3 mana, and then create a copy of your champion spell in hand for free. And her champion spell is give an ally +1/+1, Nightfall, draw a card. but it's in her deck, and the deck gives it an additional grant your strongest ally a rare item this game. So that means that Diana will often get saddled with extra armor, which is +1 cost, but +3/+3 in stats. And it doesn't matter that she costs 1 extra, since she's already on the board. So you get a ton of extra stats. You get the ability to shuffle a bunch of shrooms in the deck when you attack. You get the ability to like run over things. She's just really, really dangerous, and she can be a one-woman army with her double attack. So, yeah, good card. Jack is hilarious. Can you beat Nightmares with Jack? No, Jack is B tier. He's a 4 mana 4/5, which gives him great stats, and he is start around, create a 1 mana brawl bar fight in hand, which is 2 units fight, but neither unit can go below 1 health with the fight. Then he has Brash, which is he can't be blocked except by units that have at least 3 health. So the idea is that you have Jack start off by punching someone. He can't get killed by it. They go down to 1 health, then they can't block him. And then Jack's 3-star is whenever you refill mana, give all of your allies +1/+0 this round and deal 1 damage to all enemies, which is actually really good. Then Jack is very similar to Sett, and then he has a lot of cards that can give him coins. Unlike Sett, he doesn't have the ability to get coins for free from his constellation, which kind of really hurts him. That's why Jack is so much worse than Sett. I feel like they really gypped Jack on that. Sett's 2-star is way better, but, you know, we'll see. Hopefully he gets a rework. Annie is your spells and skills deal 2 extra damage, and then start of round create a Guile in hand, which is 1 mana stun an enemy. Annie's kit is like Jhin's. It's very solid in that it has a ton of skills, so all your units are really useful. Could you beat Nightmares with Annie? The problem is that Annie is a 1 mana 0/2. She's not super powerful, but she has like some really good units. But Deadly kind of makes it hard to actually kill with her. B tier. She can definitely kill Aurelion Sol, but you stop after that. Ekko is A tier. Ekko is your created cards cost 1 less, and then whenever you see an ally in prediction, give it +2/+2 and a random keyword. Prediction is it's very similar to Magic the Gathering Scrying. You look at 3 cards in your deck and then you choose one and put it on top of your deck. And Ekko has a lot of cards that predict. So you get a bunch of free keywords and +2/+2, and it's fine. It's good enough. Alawi is definitely A tier. Alawi's effect is when allies attack spawn 3, which is summon a 3/3 tentacle or give your existing tentacle 3/3 extra in stats. And then start of the round, give the strongest enemy vulnerable, so you can just force it to block. So Alawi, the main thing about Alawi is that Alawi herself is really powerful. She, when you attack, you spawn and you give a tentacle. You can give the tentacle elusive with the green leaf, which you get that's like a rare relic. And once you have like a 12/12 elusive tentacle, then you can just crush everything. And Alawi herself has Overwhelm to start with, which makes her really, really solid without any relics. So she just feels like an excellent character overall. You deal like 50 damage in 1 turn with Alawi. Nico is A tier. Nico is the first time you play a unit each round that doesn't have a type with the types that you have on board, it costs 2 less. So you can just flood the board with a bunch of aggressive units. And then her 2-star is at the start of the game, give all of your units that have a type impact, and then give all of your units that don't have a type the shape changer type, so that they can contribute to Nico's leveling up. So all of her units that are in her deck have impact, which is crazy good. Lilia is B tier. Lilia is really cool. Her ability is that when you summon a unit that you didn't play from your hand, give it Spirit twice, so she gets a bunch of stats for free. And then start around, create a Dreamwoven Burrow in hand, which also sleeps a unit so that it will create a landmark and then come back next turn so that you can summon it without playing it, and it gets Spirit. It's an interesting idea. and she has a lot of synergy with the Golden Spatula relic, in the same way that Nautilus has a lot of synergy with the Stack Deck relic, but she doesn't feel particularly powerful without her 4-star, which gives all of her units Overwhelm, so yeah, she's okay. Taliyah is A tier. Talia's deck is not particularly amazing, but her stars are really, really strong. She has start of game summon a Grumpy Rock Bear, and whenever a landmark goes away, all your allies get +1/+0. So it's very similar to Akshan, but Akshan is whenever a landmark counts down, give allies +1/+0 this round. Taliyah is whenever an ally's landmark is destroyed, give all your units +1/+0 permanently. But her 3-star is her 3-star has an additional effect, which is allies have +1/+1 in Overwhelm. So she basically gets an epic relic, the Beast Within, for free, which makes her crazy strong. Giving every unit that you ever summon Overwhelm will just make you win the game all the time. So she doesn't need anything else. She's literally just broken because of that. LeBlanc is A tier, absolutely. LeBlanc is start of the round, creates a 0-cost buff spell in hand that gives targeted ally +3/+2, which is perfectly fine. It gives you some good trading value. But then her 2-star is if you have leveled a champion this game, then whenever allies attack, summon an ephemeral LeBlanc attacking. So LeBlanc creates like a copy of LeBlanc every time she attacks. And what you do is you give her Guardian Orb, which is when I'm summoned, give epic items to 3 random cards in your deck. You just give her 3 Guardian Orbs, and then you just stack a ton of epic items on everything every time you attack. And she is unstoppable. It is hilarious, and it's ridiculously strong, too. Kindred. Kindred is either really high B tier or low A tier. She could probably beat some nightmares, no problem. Kindred is start of round, create a kill an ally or kill a unit and then revive it spell in your hand, which costs 5 to start with, but it costs 2 less every round that you have it. And then she also has start of round, either summon a prey, which is a 0/1 that does nothing, or give all prey you control death rattle, deal 2 to an enemy. 2 to the enemy nexus, and it stacks with itself. So you summon a bunch of prey. You keep them on the board for like 4 turns. Then you sacrifice them all, and your opponent takes 12 damage and they die. Very simple, very basic, but the main thing that makes Kindred interesting is the Guardian Angel item, which is a rare relic, so you can get it super easily. And it says you have +1 revive during games, and then the first time that the champion would die, revive them without Guardian's Angel. So you summon Kindred, and she has Guardian's Angel, and then you play her spell, her free spell on her, and she dies and she comes back. The revived unit does not have Guardian's Angel. The one that's summoned off of the spell does. And you can basically summon Kindred infinite times with this. And then what you do is your other 2 items are Everfrost, which is when I'm summoned stun the strongest enemy, so that she constantly stuns every unit that comes on the board. And then Guardian Orb, so that she constantly gives epic items to everything when she's summoned. And you just fill the board up with Kindreds and you win the game that way. Pretty decent. Okay. We are definitely running out of time at this point. Veigar. Veigar is... Veigar is B tier. I have struggled with Veigar against Aurelion Sol. I've won, but I've struggled. So Veigar is create a 0-cost darkness in your hand, and then and darkness is a 0-mana spell that deals 2 damage to enemies, and then your darknesses are burst speed. So basically, he has 2 different stars that basically make him deal a bunch of damage. The problem is that damage does not scale very well. He does have a lot of ways to increase it, but it's ramps up over time as opposed to quick and easy burst speeds. And then if you can't draw Veigar himself, you don't really have a win condition, because Veigar is how you can actually damage the enemy nexus with your darknesses. So he needs a rework, basically. Poro King. Poro King is B tier. He gives all of your units extra keywords and extra stats, but you have to have a ton of units on the board, and he's basically like a bad Kai'Sa. Speaking of Kai'Sa, Kai'Sa is A tier. Kai'Sa is start around, give one of your units a random keyword, and then units that have at least 3 keywords have +2/+2, which is perfectly fine. Keyword soup is how you win the game a lot. Speaking of keyword soup, we have Bard. Bard is also B tier. Bard is start of the turn, shuffle a bunch of chimes in your deck, and chimes are when you draw a card that has chimes, it buffs, it like gives a unit in your hand +1/+1 for every chime on it. And then his 3-star is when you summon a unit that has buffed stats, give it 2 random keywords. 2 random keywords is interesting, but you can't control it very well. The main reason that Bard is B tier and not C tier is because you get lifesteal, but that's not enough to actually take on like nightmare areas. Janna sucks. C tier. Janna's ability is What's Up Draft, which is like when you play a card that costs less mana than it started with, then you give your when you play a card that costs less, make the top 2 cards of your deck cost less, and then also whenever you play a card that costs less, give your weakest ally +1/+1. It's way too slow. It's way too annoying. You would think that a cost reduction deck would be decent, but it just takes forever because you're shuffling cards from your hand back into the deck and then reducing their cost. You have to draw them, so it takes forever. Nyla is D tier. Nyla drives me crazy. I hate playing Nyla. Nyla is a 2-mana 2/3 that creates a bunch of slipstreams that draw cards, and those slipstreams like make the cards die at the end of the turn if you don't play them. And then you try, and the benefit of it is if you cast a spell that has fleeting, you cast it twice, which is an interesting idea in theory, but all of her cards suck, so it's not good. Nyla, a lot of the like 3-star characters that are 3 stars are 3 stars because their decks were not created with any synergy. Like the newer characters, Riot has understood that they need to make the deck itself really good, and they have not done that with some of the older characters, so they're really low ranking. Mordekaiser is B tier. Mordekaiser is start of the round, create an indestructibility in hand or reduce its cost by 1 if you already have it. Indestructibility is give an ally Deathless. Deathless is if I die, summon me back with 1 health. And then his other effect is whenever you revive a unit, give it +2 attack and overwhelm. But he needs like his units to have 5 attack when they die in order to use this effect. And Mordekaiser himself is just super expensive. He's a 7-cost unit. He's really good if you have Disciple of Shadows, but Disciple of Shadows is a paid relic. So, yeah. Once you have Disciple of Shadows, he's fine. Vayne is A tier. Vayne is an equipped character, and equipment is kind of weird. You have to get used to equipment, but her effect is create a golden spatula in your hand if you don't already have 2 of them every turn, and golden spatula is a 2-mana equipped card that gives +3/+2. Also give it a random keyword, and then the first time an ally is equipped each round, give it Scout, which is really good. So yeah, Vayne just gets a bunch of extra attacks, and because she can equip cards on the opponent's turn with her tumble spell, that means that you get to scout during your opponent's turn and get basically like 4 attacks every round. Like in between your turn and your opponent's turn, that's what a round is. So you get 4 attacks, but everyone else gets 1 attack. It's really, really useful. Vi is when you draw a card, give an ally +0/+2 and impact. Yeah, that's still good enough. Well, no. She really needs a crush, which she gets. Yeah, okay. She can't beat just impact isn't really enough to beat like a nightmare area. She gets a lot of benefit out of having crush as a 4-star power, but yeah, she needs it. Heimerdinger. Heimerdinger is hilarious. Is Heimerdinger good enough for nightmare areas just as a 3-star? Yes. Heimerdinger is Every 6 mana that you spend, you give your tech units a random invention, and the inventions are all random. So it could be like fearsome, or it could be plus 99 attack, or it could be I can't take damage or die. So it's like completely random, but it's hilarious. And if you do it enough, you will get enough keywords that it matters, and you win the game. Thresh is terrible. Thresh is at the end of the round, or at the start of the round, give an ally +1/+1 and the keywords of a unit that died last round, and then also every time a unit dies, Thresh costs 1 less. Which Thresh is a 5 mana 3/6 with Challenger, and Thresh's only ability is that when he attacks, you summon an allied champion from your deck attacking. You do get 1 support champion, but if you don't get more champions, he's not really all that useful. Jax. Jax is B tier. When allies attack, give them +1/+1, and then give their equipment +2/+0, and then when an equipped unit dies, draw a card. Both those effects are fine. And Jax himself is only 2 mana, so that's really solid. But he's just like, his deck is not fast enough without Overwhelm. So he's definitely a character that heavily relies on the Peace Within, which is perfectly fine, but without it, he's just B tier. Nami is A tier. Nami is, whenever you cast a spell, refill a spell mana, and then if it's the 4th spell that you cast this round, cast it twice. The buff for having a 3-star is not that relevant, but getting an extra spell mana every time you cast a spell lets you go infinite, and going infinite is insane in every card game, so she's absolutely crazy. Especially with Echoing Spirit. But even without Echoing Spirit, like, she can go close enough to infinite, that's fine. Yasuo is start of the round, stun an enemy, and then whenever an ally strikes, give it +1/+0. Both those are really solid effects that are very easy to understand. His deck is fine, so he's A tier. Elder Dragon. Elder Dragon is C tier. He can definitely clear Aurelion Sol, but you would struggle with him. Elder Dragon's effect is when you play a unit that costs 6 or more, it creates a dragon boon on it, and then also your units that cost 6 or more cost 2 less. But his deck is really mediocre, and his 6-cost units aren't super amazing without his Constellation. His Constellation buffs every card in his deck, which makes them really, really strong. But you need his Constellation. Once you get his Constellation, he's like an A tier unit. But without it, he's pretty mediocre. Nora is when you summon a unit when you summon a created unit, give it +3/+1 and shuffle portals in your deck, which summon created units. That's good enough. Like, she's A tier. Like, it's so effortless to play Nora. She just plays a bunch of units for free, and they get bonus stats, so they're always good. Yeah. It's just basically a bunch of free power that she doesn't need. Kayn is very, very good B tier. Like, Kayn's abilities are start of game, create an equipment in hand, it costs 2 less, and then whenever an ally slays an enemy, fully heal it and give it +2/+2. The problem is that trading is not something you really need to be doing. You need to be killing your opponent. If you're constantly wasting your time trading and buffing your units and like getting into a slow drag out war, that's what you're supposed to be doing at like the beginning of Legends of Runeterra. But when you get to Nightmare areas, if you wait that long, you're gonna die. So you have to win the game really fast, and Kayn's not good at that. Aatrox is the same problem. Aatrox is just like Kayn. He's really, really good at long, drawn-out fights. His ability is whenever an equipped ally strikes, reduce the cost of a card in your hand by 2. And then he has his to level Aatrox up, you have to cast a card that costs 16 mana, but it reduces in cost by 1 every time that an equipped ally strikes. So, in order to make this balanced for Legends of Runeterra, or for Path of Champions, one of his stars in his constellation reduces the cost of this card by 6. But you don't have that star in this tier list, so not good. Varus is whenever you cast a buff on an ally, copy it. That's good enough. He's A tier. Ornn is start of the round, create a 0-cost buff spell in hand the first time you forge a unit forge it twice. Not very good. He's actually D tier. Like he's slow. His deck is not very synergistic and not very strong. He's weak. Yuumi is. I really hate Yuumi, but I guess she's C tier. Like Yuumi's is we got this, which is all allies have faded, and then faded gives an extra +1/+1. So whenever you target an ally, they get +2/+2 the first time each round. And then she doesn't have any spells that target, but she has a lot of units that create spells that target. It's an okay effect, but you have to go through like most of her. You have to go through. She's really good if you get her 4-star, because her 4-star is the first time you target, or every time you target an ally, they get barrier. That makes her actually like have a point, but +2/+2 if you target an ally is not good enough on its own. Jace is when you cast a 6-cost spell, give all allies +1/+0 and a random keyword. And then reduce the cost of non-spells in your hand by 1. Yeah, you can clear nightmares with that. It's difficult. You have to know what you're doing. Jace is like not a beginner-friendly champion, but if you know what you're doing, he can easily clear nightmare areas with just his 3-star. Volibear is whenever a unit is slain, give 2 Sigils of the Storm, and then when you summon an ally that's Titanic, it strikes an enemy. So yeah, he's like it's really easy to clear areas with Volibear. You do have to like get some good powers to make sure that you can always kill the enemy in nightmare areas, but that's not difficult. Evelyn is whenever you level up a champion, give allies +2/+2 for the rest of the game, and then also the first time a husk dies, put a copy of it in your hand. B tier. She's kind of designed around having an extra mana at the start of the game. She's almost entirely designed around her paid relic, but I don't have it, and I haven't. Yeah, I've struggled with nightmare areas with her. Yeah, she's B tier. And then lastly, we have Morgana. Morgana is fantastic. Morgana is like high A tier. When you curse an enemy, or when you target an enemy for any reason, curse it immediately, and then also at the end of the round, all cursed enemies take 2 damage, and the Nexus takes 1 damage for each cursed enemy. So she's like a hyper control character, and control you would think is bad in like a nightmare area, but because the control effect for her is stun, it's very similar to Yasuo. Like these two and Ashe are just like, it doesn't matter how big your stats are, we just invalidate you as units, and that's good enough to like completely negate the nightmare part of the area, and then you just win the game. Okay, so that is the tier list. Top of the tier, we have Fiddlesticks, Ahri, and Aurelion Sol. Then in the A tier, we have a good chunk of champions. Most of them do have a 6-star constellation, but not all. Then in the B tier, we have some surprising, like Viktor and Tryndamere, characters that are really, really solid if you complete them, but you do need to complete their areas, which is why they were given so many free champion fragments in their events. C tier, we have some not shocking characters that really need epic relics, to be frank. And then D tier is all the expensive cards. All right, there you go. So that is my tier list. We'll make a tier list for 4 stars and 6 stars as well. My name is Serafi, and I was thrilled to have all of you with me.